In January 13th, 2009, I took my son Howie skiing, and ultimately it didn't end well because he had to be flown from Mount Shasta, the hospital up there, down to UC Davis. We traveled, my wife and I, in a car. We arrived 3 or 4 hours later. It was all chaos, as most emergency situations are, and we spent that afternoon and evening basically either standing or sitting in chairs in the waiting room beside the bed, and we kind of figured that was going to be our reality until it ended. Well, there was a nurse that we don't remember the name, and she ran the nursing station, and she hooked us up with this thing called the Kiwanis Family House. We didn't know what that was, but it was to be better than what we were facing at the time, and so that's what proved to be true. We were granted a room. It was just lickety-split. It was just that quick. They hooked us up. We had a room. And what we found at the Kiwanis Family House was a place that was clean. It was comfortable beds, had showers, it had laundry facilities, because when we're in an emergency, you don't pack, you have what you have on your back. So laundry's a luxury. It had its own kitchens, private refrigerators, and it even had a pantry because, once again, you don't get to grocery shop on your way. These things are what we found to be kind of like an illustration for this would be if you're ever lost in the woods and you can't find your way and it gets dark and you haven't got the means to build a campfire, you're totally lost. But if you can build a campfire, you get warmth, you get comfort, and ultimately you find hope. That is exactly what the Kiwanis Family House offers. It gives you a place where you can feel those comforts, those creature comforts when everything's screwed up and upside down. And without it, it's miserable. So after our experience with it, we learned that it was something that we need to promote. We do so as much as we can. We continue to do everything we can do, and we're going to do it in the future. When we were there, my wife stayed at the hospital, during the day?
Our shifts would change various times. So there was a shuttle, and the shuttle would take you to and from. Well, sometimes, for whatever reason, we would change in the middle of the night. And just one of the little things that was provided was the security guard would come and pick me up. And he said, "Don't leave the building till you see me," and then come out to the car. And it was door-to-door service. It became a community. It became a mini home away from home. It was the little things. It was knowing that you had a connection with everybody there in some emotional way that you never knew that you would have with somebody like that. It was just an amazing place to be during a time of turmoil.
I was the one who did the opposite shift, so I tried to do the graveyard thing, only I don't sleep well during the daylight hours. And so I would find myself in front of the bulletin board reading stories of previous guests. And that's when, as serious as our situation seemed to be, it really shrank in comparison or in contrast to some of the other stories where they were seriously long-term, really sometimes sad stories. And it hit me that my son, he was injured physically, and we might have been injured a little emotionally, but we really weren't hurt financially in this. It only lasted a few days, 9 days, and at the price it cost to pay for the room, it wasn't hard. But when I saw those stories of people who lasted and lasted and lasted, I got to thinking, upon all that turmoil, to be maybe hurt financially to the point you got to liquidate. If you don't have anything to liquidate, what do you do? And so that really tugged on my heartstrings, and it became a mission of ours to make it a point to donate for the cause of needy families. If they don't have the money, it shouldn't be a reason why they can't stay there, or something to that effect. It needs, money shouldn't be the problem between anything there. We were here for that.
Well, due to the accident and the medication I had, I really don't remember too much of it, but it did mean a lot to me at the time.
Having the Kiwanis Family House there provided a resource for us so that either David or myself was by his side 24/7. Luckily, he had a job that he was able to take time off, but because we had a place to stay, the other could go and be well rested to take the next shift, so that we could be there all the time for our son.
I think there's a psychological thing that even though he might have been sedated or whatever, that I think there was a part of it that he knew we were there, because we would talk to him whether he knew we were there or not. And we were told even through the medical people that it's important for people like us to be there for their kids.
And they were even surprised at how fast and the total, well, not total recovery, but
Very close to total.
right, that he did, and in such a short amount of time. And I don't doubt that it had to do with having somebody constantly there who was loving and looking out for him.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Kiwanis Family House.
Thank you for the Kiwanis Family House.